Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Homemade Episode 1, a podcast focused on all things creative. No domains, no boundaries, no limits, just the ins and outs of making and doing in the world today. So, how are you, John?
I'm doing well, Greg. How are you?
We
I'm
finally
just
got
sitting
this
here.
off the ground.
Yeah, it's great. I'm
Yeah,
really looking forward to this today. So it
I
should be
think it's
really
going to be a good
interesting.
conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what are you
Absolutely.
working on these days?
I can show you actually quickly if you're interested.
Yeah.
I'm doing some electronic work. This is a device I've been working on and off for about a year or so, which is it's a hybrid sequencer for music making in Eurorack. Um, so I'm just working on the third revision of that at the minute with some additional features. It's mostly changes to the code, a couple of changes to the board. But yeah, it's nearly there. So that's sort of what I'm working on at the moment outside of the university.
Wow, very
Yeah.
interesting.
So,
So, on the code side of that, how does that work?
let me see if I can show you. So there's a little microcontroller here, which is
I can't
it's
really
an
see it, John. Could you
Arduino
move it over to the
variant.
right just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Here,
Spot
I'll
on.
bring it a
Right,
little
down a little
closer.
bit. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So this is the kind of brains of the operation here, which is
Right.
a microcontroller based on Arduino. It's called Teensy.
Cool.
Which is 32-bit, pretty powerful little chip. Like,
Yeah.
so it's essentially operating like an analog sequencer, but it's driven by in a digital way, let's say. So that allows you to kind of add some additional features that wouldn't be possible in analog realm, if you know what I mean. So most of that's related to the way it handles the patterns, etc. So I might do a separate video on that at some point, kind of
Do.
going through the circuitry and
Yeah.
how that's come to pass in the code and things of that nature. Yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant.
yeah,
Well, let's quit with the rambling. So today we're really lucky to have Timmy Gibson with us, and let's just go straight over to him. There you are, Timmy. How's it going?
Not too bad at all. How's things yourselves? And I just, I was kind of interested there hearing
hey,
John on about the sequencer there. Digital brain, analog heart, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always fiddling with
that's
something.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah. So Timmy, obviously we have met each other a couple of times. For those who haven't heard of you before, could you give us the quick the quick tour of your background, how you got to today?
Quick tour of the background. I guess I just really started off with vinyl DJing. Back when I was about, oh Lord, when I was about 15. I got my first sort of set of turntables and just really went from there, just started DJing, got into it professionally then when I was 18 and started touring. And then that sort of took me on to touring to various different parts of the world, America and Ableton, UK and stuff like that. And, went to college, obviously, to learn about music production, which really interested me. I don't know if anybody, well, I would say you guys definitely remember Sound on Sound
Yeah.
magazine.
yeah,
I think sort of my first sort of thing to look at the music production side of things. I remember seeing this mixer in the cover of Sound on Sound, and me and my
Wow.
buddy Tommy, Tommy Conway, we had our started putting like a studio together. And I was like, yeah, I think we need one of those. So I'm gonna chance the bank for some money, and I'll buy this mixer. And then he ended up buying like an Innovation Supernova synthesizer actually, and then we had like a computer and stuff, but we just hadn't a clue how to kind of use this stuff, and we just tried to sort of um, piece together a little bit. Started off with Logic, and I think we did a little course in Derry, and John, what do you call that building that you sort of do the teaching and stuff in the game?
Foil
The
Arts?
studio there.
The Foil Arts building?
Oh, aye, that's it. Aye. We
yeah.
God, I think it was Cubase VST at the time. Went down there to
Right.
do a course on that there. Oh man,
Right. That's going back a bit.
this is going back
Yeah.
a long time, like, and then just really came to the point where, well, unfortunately we couldn't do any degree courses or anything like that here in Donegal. So we ended up moving to Dublin, and going to college there, learning music production and stuff at the Sound Training Centre.
Know it well.
Which, yeah, honestly, it's probably some of the best years of my life. Gone down there, had a really good mentor, Les Stapleton.
Yeah.
He's just like so into the music technology side of things, and I think this is where the time whenever things is really starting to kick off with the computers, and you can make everything on the computer and stuff. Like Cubase SX we started using at that stage down there, and Reason as well, and Pro Tools. So got exposed to loads of different DAWs and stuff, and Les as well. He had a fairly successful career as a bass player and stuff, musically, and he's really a really good technology guy, forward thinking that side of things. Where I think we're still in the way of where it's mixing consoles and cutting tape, and not that there's anything wrong with that. That's amazing too. Like, but just going from a super expensive side of things to let's just do it all on the computer here, which is kind of a no-brainer. I think it's a starting point for people, starting to produce music, electronic music anyways. So you're really becoming the band as such yourself, the producer, just the all singing, all dancing guy that really took care of everything. But
so when was that? That was around 2000, 2001?
No, that was like 2002, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think that's when it was. We went down 2002 or
It's hard to
something.
remember. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. That's quite
The
a while
years
back.
just whoosh.
Don't they just? It really did. It was an amazing time, and then I think with Les being a mentor as well, we just learned so much off him. And the other thing is that some of the students were getting lots of opportunities to go down to a place down there as well. In Westmeath, it was Grouse Lodge.
Yeah.
So they got to work with, actually see how the industry was working, and see big clients come down there. I know everybody knows the story. Michael Jackson and all that crack was down there. But
That's the residential studio, right?
That's the residential place. And then there was the writing house kind of across the road as well, which is pretty cool. But we always got to go down there once a year and sort of soak it up, so it really kind of give you an insight into what things could be like, or how many hours these people actually put into the music, because it's not for everybody.
Nope.
At the end of the day, it's long hours, and the competition is fierce.
Yep.
So to get anywhere within the industry as well. But after all that, sort of started to do little bits of teaching stuff in there. So again, Les sort of took me under his wing a little bit there, and got me sort of teaching little bits and bobs, and helping out in class and stuff. And after kind of up there, ended up working there again for a few years. Myself and Tommy as well. We started working there, but we always kind of had a vision of moving home and setting up a studio. But at this time, we were doing a lot of touring with the DJing and stuff as well at that time. So it was kind of busy. We were doing teaching. We were also touring with the DJing, but more and more DJing side of things, you had to be like a producer, and you had to be making music as well at this stage. Because I think whenever I started off DJing, it wasn't really about making music. It was about playing music and vinyl, really. I used to travel, get in the bus here, Donegal, go down to Abbey, just stand in the queue to get records, go into Derry to Conbase and Paul P to buy records, try and get the stuff onto the counter, go down to Kilkenny for records, and it's just nuts all that kind of stuff you do.
That's quite a trek, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a trek, but you did it because at the end of the day, you're going hunting for music that nobody has.
I know. And would you go up and down the same day?
Up and down the same day, no, we stay with friends. We're down
I
there,
was hang around, yeah.
cover something,
Right.
or we could be,
Heading out.
this is all before I even had a car, started driving. I
Yeah.
remember I would have to like get 2 buses because I had a monthly residency down in Wexford in this place called Camolin, which was good fun. So like I would get like the bus here in Enrolling to Dublin, go from Dublin to Wexford, do the gig at night, obviously up in the morning, Wexford to Dublin back to there, Enrolling,
Fair
so
play.
there's loads of buses, trains.
Would you do it
planes.
today?
Huh?
Would you do it today?
All the traveling.
Yeah.
Not really. In fairness, I was just saying to my wife the last day. I says, I was dropping her to work, and I kind of says to her, listen, there's not very many people who can get up and stay in their jammies and slippers and be at
True.
work.
Well, there's a lot of people doing it at the minute.
Aye,
But I know
well,
what you
that's
mean.
it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm very sort of lucky in that sense, anyways. But
I just want to pick up on something first, just if I could for a second. So you were buying all the gear before you actually did any formal training.
yeah, exactly. I was trying to teach myself.
Yeah. So how many years? How many years are we talking?
Probably had it. Yeah, I'd say probably. I'm just trying to think here now. About 1.5 to 2 years, I would say. Just trying to kind of learn. We had like a really good friend of ours at the time. He used to manage Boy George. His name was John Shikini. So he used to be out over here playing a lot, and so we'd invite him down, and he would come down to like a little flat at this stage, and just have the stuff down there, and because there was not the resources that are there today just were not there then, and like I remember like I'd be chatting to Tim Hannigan, another guy, Mr. Spring,
Yeah.
So like Tim, he's a big analog head, so it's kind of great, you have him, you be able to speak to Tim or whatever, and this is stuff you're trying to explain over the phone. You're kind of maybe like I think it was Logic 1.0. I was looking at that stage, it's the very first version of Logic, and trying to chat, man, just trying to do this thing, and he's trying to tell you over the phone, and you didn't have like like FaceTime and all that crap,
So it's all manuals, magazines, conversations.
Yeah.
Did we have online at that point? We would have, but maybe just not to the same extent.
Not to the same extent, like without a doubt, like it just nowhere even in the same kind of ballpark as such. Like the dedicated channels you have now, like the online resources, it's absolutely amazing what producers have now at their fingertips. Like, and it was taking me kind of 20 years to sort of hone my craft as such. You can do it in like a lot less time now, for sure.
Well, I mean, you have access to the information, but there's the part where you embed it, where you sort of make it your own. I don't know if you can shortcut that.
No, I think that there's a famous adage that it takes 10 years to master any skill, doesn't it? Like,
right.
So I think that's fairly accurate.
There's definitely a time component for sure.
Yeah, for definite. But again, I kind of found myself, you get to a certain point and you do a certain amount of learning, and then you have to start your own sort of learning as well and keep on learning. Which I absolutely love that stuff. I kind of find myself, I have like way too many videos and stuff to watch, and I'm just trying to like, I need to tell myself to like slow down a wee bit and take these nuggets of information and don't be like going into like somewhere like Sonic Academy or something and just like consuming all these videos and thinking all this stuff's actually gonna go on there. Certainly it is not like, but yeah, I guess that's just sort of the world we're living in today, which is great for the up and coming producer. You've got just so much stuff at your fingertips.
So we finished up. You were at Sound Training Center.
Sound
training there. You wanted to go back home, and then you did go home, right?
Yeah, no. I moved home first because sort of, we still on time, we're doing up like a business plan for the sort of the first studio as such. I went back to kind of get a premises, kind of get that sort of thing organised. Tommy, he was still working in Dublin, but I was doing some part-time stuff down there. So we're sort of taking the leap of faith. I think this is whenever the whole crash happened as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we're like, oh, this is a big deal.
2007, 2008, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like, we just sort of took the leap of faith to kind of come back and set up like a small recording studio, which was great. Like, you know, we had a lot of fun doing that, and we're still touring as well. So we're doing the touring thing. We're also doing the recording thing. So there's like some singer-songwriter stuff. We were producing stuff for other Irish DJs at the time. And then also we were like doing courses up there for like little VTAC run courses. So like a level 5 VTAC. So we did that whole thing and got those kind of courses approved. So I kind of did that for 5 years then with Tommy, and then up until that, then I decided to leave, and I wanted to kind of go on and back into education. So I went off and did the masters in Trinity College in Dublin.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I've always wanted to do it. You know, it's always been in the back of my head. It was something I kind of wanted to do, and maybe get into the teaching side of things a little bit more. Sort of pass on my kind of knowledge and stuff. I know that's what Les kind of did for me as well, and loads of other people. Like he's like very he's very good like that. Like, you know, he'd take you into the studio and stuff for one-on-one sessions and spend hours with you, talking music, showing you things. Just to give me everything he can know. So a lot of that kind of stuck with me, and it's kind of one of the things I enjoy as well. It's kind of helping other people or sort of younger producers that are starting out. They're kind of aspiring to be something. They've got their dreams and things that they want to do. So I mean, it's, you know, if I can help anybody in that sense, that's great.
Yeah.
But the masters was great. It's one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in my life, and probably one of the most challenging as well at the same time, because it's a lonely road when you're sort of doing things like that.
Was that's the 1 year version?
No, mine's was the 2. I did a part time over 2 years, but it is a 1 year intensive.
Well, it can be, yeah.
It used to be 2 years, I think, that one down there.
I did the same thing. So I did it when it was 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Adrian Hart done it. I don't know if you met him in there. Adrian Hart, his name is.
No.
He's a violin player.
Right.
Amazing. But yeah, he did the 2 year thing, and I remember the guys come back because they left. They actually got in from doing a couple of years at the Sound Training Centre, and to kind of I always thought that was kind of amazing for those guys to kind of get in from just doing that. But, they actually did the 2 year one. There was a lot more stuff obviously in it then, but yeah, I found it amazing as well. It's really, really enjoyable, and you know, it basically showed me stuff that I was never really exposed to before.
Just broadens your horizons.
It does. It was more all about the how and the why, you know, which was kind of cool. Actually, how things kind of work. Like the electroacoustic music, I really enjoyed that. It was a new experience for me. Coding aspect of it as well. Did some small stuff before, but I really enjoyed the Max MSP stuff, and the C++ stuff was kind of cool, and Arduinos and all that kind of crack. Like, but then there was the psychoacoustics. I was kind of I didn't really enjoy that as much. The psychoacoustic stuff. I don't know. I found it hard to sort of click with that stuff. Amazing stuff to know, but some people are kind of wired different kind of ways. You know, so that was probably one of the tougher end of things in that. But yeah, thought that was brilliant, but sort of while I was doing that, I was kind of starting to build my own little small business here at the same time. Where I just had a couple of synthesizers. I think I had one synthesizer actually. I had a Sequential, Prophet 6, and a computer and set of monitors. But I was building an online school for college in Dublin, the Sound Training Centre actually. Again,
Right.
me and this other guy, we started building this online school, sound training online. It was. I think it's still going anyways.
Yeah.
So what we started to do there was, like do like maybe a Logic course. Then we moved on to different VSTs and stuff, how they work, and all that kind of stuff, and just creating a learning platform that people could kind of do. So that kind of opened up other doors for me then as well. To a company in the States called Output. There was a friend of mine, Jay Donaghy. We were at college together as well in the Sound Training Centre. Well, he went off to America, and did really, really well as a mix engineer. Was Grammy nominated mix engineer. So
Nice.
we sort of, an amazing achievement for him. So he was on on the SSL website, have a picture of this other guy in front of this big desk and all, so it was sort of amazing to see somebody to kind of know, going to that sort of stature, that kind of level, which is cool. But he put me in touch with one of the founder member guys at the company called Output, Neil Hammond, and so I was just sort of asking him, well, would you mind, hook us up for some software? We want to do some courses on your software. So this is whenever they were kind of starting off, This is kind of the start of Output, and so he was nice enough to kind of give us a few NFR licenses to build some courses for the online school, and that really just stemmed me. Just started doing stuff because I was trying to travel up and down to Dublin to do the masters, and then try and work at the same time by doing this stuff. So it was a real grind at the time, but at the time, the passion, the fire, and the love was there for our music, and you were just going to do whatever it takes to sort of make it happen, because nothing lands in your lap, so to speak. You kind of really have to put in the grind and in the work, and I probably have to say that's one of the things about the music industry. You want something to happen kind of quickly, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. It's a long grind as such.
Yeah.
But that's kind of pretty much where I am today after the masters. Just sort of start working for myself, started my own company here called Contact Media, just sort of doing production, sound design, all that kind of stuff,
And is a strong audio music focus?
Yeah, pretty much. Luckily for me, I've had experience in running the business and kind of wearing all the hats at the same time. There was 2 of us at the time, so we were able to help each other. But on this side of things, it was just all on my own. So I wouldn't say it was much of a steep learning curve, but you really had to kind of, be organized, see what's doing what. You don't want to be micromanaging stuff, even though you are managing everything, But yeah, it's mainly focused on audio production. But one of the main things for me, whenever I was really putting this together, is that I really didn't want to be like everybody else. I want to be fully analog studio. I didn't want to be sitting looking at the computer and at a soft synthesizer to try and make it sound like a Moog synthesizer or an ARP 2600 or whatever. I just wanted to just go over to a place in the studio and that instrument was sitting there, really.
Nice.
That was kind of really what I wanted to achieve with it all, to be different from everybody. Maybe not from everybody, because I'm sure there's other people that have these instruments, but I wanted to have a collection of instruments. Not just 1 or 2. I wanted to have a good few instruments and just make something as well attractive to customers that want to, even though it's nice to have this gear, but obviously you need to kind of know how to use it and get the proper results out of it as well, But again, for me, going back, I didn't really want to be sitting at a computer looking at a software synthesizer. I want to actually just have something tactile, something has its own sound, in a sense, has its own vibe, its own life, in a sense, instead of, I'm going to have to change out this wavetable for this guy put up this Moog wavetables. Now it's going to sound like a Moog or whatever. It's got these Moog filters, or it's all done digitally, whatever. It just doesn't have the sound at the end of the day. So people say, but it just doesn't. Unless if you haven't got experience with these machines, then you can't really say that sounds like that.
There's definitely a qualitative difference.
Absolutely. Especially in the analog world. Even like the modular behind me, for instance. You'll do things different every day on it. You'll never make the same sound the same ever again. That's a thing. It's a thing. You'll just instrument for life, dude. At the end of the day, it's just it can do loads of different things with it. As I say, I don't even have that synthesizer that long. It's taken me a while to sort of get that far and try and make that happen. It's been a lot of work to sort of actually get that machine here.
I can imagine there's not many of those in existence in the country, I would say, to me.
No, well, that's from 2017. That's one of 25 in the world. I don't even know. I know that there's a System 55 in Ireland. I know there's one, but I don't know what the crack is with the 3C. I know they brought out the 3P now. I think there was 40 of those being made. They're obviously done now, but you'll never see these machines again. They're just there's no more parts. These are all built from new old stock. They went to great lengths to sort of bring these back again for one more time. Which
wow,
definitely they disappeared far too quick, anyways.
I think that a lot of that stems from the components.
Especially whenever the 80s came, with the DX7s and stuff, and people were just hitting the button, had their presets, which was probably handy for touring as well. There were smaller machines, and especially whenever the Mini Moog came out, it was just a smaller version of something that sounds like the modular is probably the closest thing, I would say. Like a Model D would sound pretty close. Sort of has that raw kind of power, but it was much more compact and smaller thing as well at that stage for touring, which I would say was a big thing to do that. But it was great to see them come back again for one last time. And I don't know what they're gonna go for next. They've got the sound studios and stuff, so things are getting smaller.
Well, we'll take a look at the studio in a minute. We have a video tour, and we can drop in and out of that, and we'll link to it in the description as well. But maybe we could just spend a minute talking about your production setup and how you approach it.
Well, production setup, really, what I would have is an Apollo 16. So the way I sort of approach my setup is like an analog hybrid setup as such, where, again, which we were kind of briefly talking about there earlier, was where we've got a digital sort of brain and everything, and then just all my analog synths get plugged into the Apollo 16.
Yeah, just so because not everyone's going to know what that is. That's basically a high quality audio interface with 16 analog to digital converters, 16 inputs, right?
Exactly.
And you're basically treating it like a mixer, just all 16 analog straight to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
And again, you can set that up in various different ways, because I'm kind of sitting down here in front of the computer. I've got pedals, effects pedals,
Cool.
which kind of got into briefly, but the thing with the pedals, you can kind of go off in a mad tangent. So I just end up sticking with a few things. But going back to the Apollo 16, it's it's basically just the way I kind of work is just like a mixer, and again I've got the pedals will be plugged into that, so I can daisy chain stuff together, so I can patch stuff. So I'd have like an Apollo 16, but then I've got two patch bays beside that. So I'd have like my 16 inputs in one patch bay and my 16 outputs in the other. So I can kind of set that up as my ins and outs and stuff, whatever way I want to do it. I can do it. And then later on down the line, if you want, then all you have to do is get another one of those and you can daisy chain that together. So you've got 32 ins and outs, which is great. So if you think about trying to do that with a console, what size of console are you going to need? How much money are you going to need? you know,
space as well, you know.
Exactly. So that's just really the way my setup is there. And then the cool thing is about all the newer synths now, it's MIDI over USB. So I just have like a USB hub with everything being plugged into that, and so it handles all the MIDI side of things, and then the Apollo handles all the audio side of things, coming into Ableton, Cubase, or whichever DAW I'm using on the day.
I'm curious, because you're using so much older stuff, how does that actually interface with MIDI, and how do you actually, do you even bother to synchronize sequencers, or because I'm guessing you have multiple sequencers? How do you run, or do you just run them as is, capture the audio, and then run on top again, or how do you run it?
Yeah, well, what I did do, I did have like a synthesizer here a while back, but I sold it. It was like a Moon modular. So if you want to think about like a Moog System 10, the newer ones, kind of in the cabinet. So I had like a cabinet thing, but had like a MIDI interface, and I was like clocking that off like a Turia little Beat Step Pro thing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really work that well with the synchronization that great. So that's kind of where I'm at now at the minute. I'm just trying to sort that out to work in a much more streamlined way. At the moment, I haven't really been using the modular in that way. I've been using it in projects, but I'm about to do that. And the way I'm going to do that now is I'm going to use a thing in Ableton called CV Tools.
Right.
So what that's going to do is that's going to interface with the Moog Sound Studio. I've got like the DFAM and the Subharmonicon and Muller 32. So I've got the little Sound Studio thing. So that works really well with CV Tools. And then what I can do from that, then I can just take multiples of clap from either of those instruments, and then I can send it out to various different machines. Then, for instance, I've got another dedicated sequencer for the ARP 2600, and so I'll do. I'm just going to send I can just send like a control voltage from that, because the cool thing with the Apollo, it's got DC outputs, so that's going to be able to send. So I've got 16 outs from the Apollo, which is really handy. I don't use them for anything, so I'm going to use that sort of to clock all the rest of the instruments, and then that is going to be able to sit in time and Ableton once I hit the space bar, so to speak. Everything's just going to be on the money instead of using it over USB, which I was using with the Beat Step Pro. It was just, I would always lag or have to stop it, and then I'd be like with the preferences going, and I'd be switching it on and off, and the next thing would jump into time, like, and then it's just kind of the way I work whenever I'm sort of working. When the creativeness is sort of going, you need things bish bash bosh, So the main thing for me, coming from like the computer, out of the computer, what I wanted to do was sort of build my studio in such a way that it was going to work like VSTs basically, that I could have these analog synthesizers. It's just like a VST, you just drop it in, boom, and away you go. So that's 90, I would say 98% of everything works that way. Apart from the R2600, but it's the newer one from Korg. They brought it back out there a while back, the full scale one. I was lucky enough to get one of those. So I haven't really been using the sequencer. And if you were using the sequencers, I mean, if you're sitting there trying to, get the rate times, I mean, off an LFO that's running in free mode, it's just good luck to you.
Life shortening.
Yeah, exactly. So
I really like your point around, sometimes the text slows it all down. It's nice to have all this stuff, but sometimes it really does. It just completely ruins your flow. You're like, and then I can do it, and then I have to rewire and do ask. And it just doesn't work. I really like your approach.
That was sort of my thinking of it because, like I can't play instruments. I can dabble like a little at stuff like the computer is really my instrument. I just get everything in there.
Yeah.
Where my friend, she's like the analog kind of queen, like, and hers, she doesn't use computers at all. It's all just sequencers and stuff, and everything's linked together, like, and that's sort of the way she works as an artist, like. But for me, no, it wasn't an option. I need the computers really my instrument, so that was kind of my approach on it. Is just try and get these things streamlined at the work, like VSTs. At 2 seconds, I can drop something in, and away I go. But I've been thinking a lot about how to get the modular working like that, because there's just so much stuff you can do with that machine. You could just do like a full production on that alone, because there's just so many oscillators on it, and so many things you can do. So that's, as I say, I was sitting here scratching my head thinking about it, because I've just been thinking about what going to be the best way about making this machine work for me. That's just thrown on there and the way it goes, because I've got some jobs coming up that I really want that machine to be the main focus on it, and so I'm just really trying to streamline that at the moment. So I'd say the CV tools is going to be the way forward for me in the Moog Sound Studio, to sort of get that working correctly in terms of synchronization, really, which is always the thing that you're up against with the modular world. I mean, it's fine if you're just using all these modular stuff together and it's just them, but once you start bringing in the computer into it, latency, which is always the killer with computers. Latency is just it's death, really. Like, when you're trying to get audio onto the computer, and the more plugins you're adding, the more latencies have been added, the more distortions been added. It's just so you really have to be critical of that, and maybe it has like less is more in the computer world.
I was just going to say it came right into my head, and it's always such an important thing. What I like as well about your process is it forces you to commit. There's less keep that and keep that and keep that. It's this is working now, let's just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Probably that is very true, and I'm all about committing as well to audio and stuff whenever I'm actually creating on there. But what I always tend to do now, is that whenever I kind of started off with just recording and stuff, I'd like record snippets. So let's just say a 4-bar snippet, for instance, because if we're building a track, we're working within this loop for whatever amount of time anyways. But what I would always do now is never do that. What you want to do is, whenever you're recording something in from an actual analog instrument, is paste out, like a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and do stuff with the synth. Whether it's filter opening up over time, or just do a few passes of doing stuff and make stuff happen, because then you can start to land in happy accidents as well. But later on, that's going to help you to say piece an arrangement together where you're not saying to yourself, oh man, I should probably open up the filter on that there again. And the next thing you go back and you're trying to make that sound again. It's just not the same. It's just not the same. It's like, for instance, for me now, I'm working on a track at the minute, but I have the Modal D. There's a bass on it that I can't touch, and then there's a matrix. The matrix got a sound on it that I can't touch, and the ARP's got a sound on it I just can't touch it. So I force them on. Haven't recorded them in yet. Get them where I'm up for an hour, and then the next day, then I'm just gonna do all the bits and get them all in. So that's one of the downfalls. Especially if you're working on some of your own music, where you tend to take.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting because it's kind of stepping back back to kind of previous working methods a little bit, but combined with digital, because I think engineers at the time were so grateful to welcome some of the digital stuff, because they didn't have to deal with some of those kind of issues of trying to recall sounds. And I think it's sort of interesting to me that we've shifted a little bit more back towards that, or at least some people have in their production skills, and this is something that I love. I kind of love that about it, because the instruments somewhat have a kind of human aspect to them, where there's a life expectancy to these things, and you can't capture those moments again. I think that's a really interesting thing for me anyway.
Yeah, I think it's more organic as well. When you're capturing that moment in time and getting it sort of in there, and then you're able to listen to it back, basically. But again, like probably the other main thing for me as well there is that most of these machines, there's no presets, which is great. Obviously some of the newer stuff, there's presets and stuff that you can kind of save on that, and that's great. But I always find myself going back to the same stuff. I've had various different synths in here as well, but I just end up selling them again and really making sure that the stuff that I've been buying is the stuff that I'm going to be using and that I want. Which it's okay if you're able to go to a shop and they have these things there and you can try them out and stuff, but you really don't know then. Like for instance, like I had like the new Waldorf wavetable synth here. Cool synth, man, but I just found it nuts and just far too much stuff. And, man, like you nearly need a bloody degree to go and use the thing, So I just end up sending it back and something else, So that was sort of the main thing, is get the sound right, what instrument you actually want to kind of use every day, and stuff that works in the flow kind of quickly, and you can get things done as quickly as possible. Especially if you're sort of working for other people, is that you want to kind of have high quality product and a short amount of time.
Well, just thinking, my first sequencer ran on an Atari, which many people would not know. Right, it's so old. There's no capacity for recording audio. It's just start stop. That was it. It wasn't until I was working with an American producer, actually. His domain of things would be much more Detroit style techno kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
But the way they did it was just everything going back to a mixer, and you just run it, which is a lot like studio stuff was like this. The Beatles would make stuff like this as well. Just everything running. And basically the faders go up and the faders go down. And you're actually arranging it on the mixer, muting things as you go. Completely hands-on, in the moment. Much more organic, I guess. Just less of the 8 bars, I
kind of find like now things can be very clinical, in the music world. Like I remember being in a couple of sessions, and I remember like big pens taped over faders that was doing this group of faders, and there could be like about 5 people around this bloody mixing console. doing
exactly.
all their bits and
Yeah.
tape rolling in the background, and it's kind of the
Yeah.
sweats around. You know, that's like the one take, you know, and that's
Yeah.
you know, all that's gone now, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's just different
I think you're
era.
right with the clinical part, and I think, well, from my perspective anyway, it's sort of a function of working on a visual grid. You've
Mm-hmm.
moved you've moved away from what you're hearing more to what you're seeing, and
Mm.
Yeah,
sometimes it's beneficial. That's why I like the kind of the synthesizer so much, is because it takes you away from that kind of visual aspect a little bit, and I think that's, like you say, it's a bit more organic that way from my perspective.
yeah, no, for sure. Like, I mean, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than sitting down and especially hearing a good sound that you've made, that you've worked on for whatever length of time, and just sitting back and hearing that yourself, and just really taking it in, and not sort of sitting there with the mouse, the computer, and just flicking through these presets and
Yeah.
bank after bank after bank. And sure, you probably could have God knows how much work done at that stage. Like, so obviously I understand there's always obviously growth problems and teething problems whenever you sort of move away from reaching for the preset or whatever, but just getting into how sounds are made and the
Mm.
building blocks off these sounds, but once you sort of start getting over that and getting into your own head and hearing sounds and think about ways of how you're going to achieve them sounds and then hearing them back, that's all the gratitude you need, like, for hearing something back and just sort of buzzing on it yourself then and such. You're like, ah, nice one, that happened there. That's great, like, and then just do whatever you want to do then with that sound. But at least you kind of know, well, that's kind of one on the belt. I kind of know how to quickly get that together then.
Mm. Well, we've been talking about the studio. Maybe we should take a quick look. Since we're here, I'm just going to switch over to the video of the studio now. So we're looking now at a shot of the Moog 3C, which is from, what year did you say to me?
This one's from 2017. This was actually whenever they reintroduced this cabinet. So the 3C, so the C stands for the cabinet that's built in. So it's 25. I think they made up those synthesizers in 2017. And then obviously then after that they did the portable version, which is the 3P that comes in the smaller Tolex cabinets.
Yeah. It's a monster. How much does that weigh?
Man, whenever the guy came here to deliver it, like, he's like, we got into the front door and he's like, all right, where do you want it? And I was like, man, we got to take this thing upstairs. Because like it came in these, I don't know if you can see, there's like a flight case.
Yeah.
So that basically held this one part here, and then there's another flight case in. I don't know if we can see that. Move that up. There's like these three parts then.
Yeah.
So that came in our flight case. And then, so yeah, with the kind of, honestly, I couldn't tell you how much it weighs, but it was pretty heavy,
Yeah.
for sure. But it was just about my stuff.
I tell you what, it's great that it was flight cased. I was imagining, cardboard boxes and the usual stuff, and I was like, oh no.
No, I mean, I was so lucky with this one. The guy I bought it off as well. His name's Justin. He's got like a vintage guitar shop in London. It's on Denmark Street. London Vintage Guitars, or not, Rockers Guitars, I think possibly it's called. He sells loads of guitars to the stars and stuff. I think
Right.
came out from ZZ Top and stuff, with black guitars and stuff off him. So it basically came up there, seen it in Reverb, and I was kind of like, oh man, because I was trying to buy one off KMR Audio. I was trying to buy the one of the Tolex cabinets, but in the end we couldn't do the deal. So I was kind of bummed out a wee bit about that, because I think there was one left I was kind of trying to get. So all the stuff in here. I bought off those guys, you know. So I thought we might have been able to do a deal, but it turned around in the end we couldn't really make one. So that came up, and Justin was very accommodating, and we started talking and such, and we did the deal in the end. So he was a very nice guy, and delivered to my doorstep and everything, and
Wow.
yeah, super lucky, very nice as well. He's just a lover of music, you know, as well. So that was very cool to get one. I was super lucky, you know, because as I say, I've been trying to make one of these happen for a while. I knew my time was running out, because I was never going to see one of these machines again, like, and then even if I saw one in another few years' time, like how much it's going to cost as well. So those are other factors. Right now, whenever they were being made and they were finishing up, making these machines, you know, but you know, it's like anything. Once they disappear, they've never been made again.
Yeah.
They skyrocket, like.
This could be another rabbit hole, but let's try. I just have to ask, what happens if you do need a part?
If you do need a part, that is a good question. It's something I haven't really thought about, really.
You asked John to make it?
Yeah,
Funnily enough, now you mention this,
I'm sure there could be something.
I have a bag of 300 transistors from the filters that I bought years ago, and they're worth something like £1,200 now.
Wow!
And I bought them for like 30 quid.
Yeah,
so if you are getting spare parts, I would suggest get them soon. Because they're just not made anymore, you know, and particularly the filters and the oscillators as well have, you know, they're very reliant on a particular transistor to work the way that they do. So, I mean, but my understanding of Moog is they do keep a stock for, you know, they have a kind of stock set aside for maintenance of existing, particularly the bigger modular systems.
Yeah.
But that, yeah. I wouldn't imagine it will be cheap.
No, well, that's it. Say I've been very lucky. This one's basically like brand spanking new. It used to belong to a guy that what's his name now? David something or other. I think I have his name here somewhere.
While you're doing that to me, I can actually play this because there's a demo on this video. I'm just going to play a couple of seconds so people can hear what it sounds like. Let me see if I can cue it about there. Yeah.
The moment. And I've got our low pass turned away down. I've got a little bit of resonance here as well. The resonance in this guy sounds pretty cool, but obviously with that, we're going to lose some bottom end. So once I bring that down, you're probably going to hear that bottom end come in a bit more. Bring it back up to 6 there again, and then just really. So you can really hear it now, you hear the bottom ends in more. I kind of like the resonance.
That low end really is special.
Yeah, it is.
No, for definite, I actually couldn't believe how, like, so I know the Model D, I always loved the sound of the Model D. It just had this real raw, aggressive sound, but it also can sound really buttery, like, that's the way I can describe it. But whenever I started messing about with this sound of it was just nothing I've ever heard before, anyways. Especially here in the studio, it just was kind of blown away by it, you know, just in how, just the raw power of the thing. So I guess that was.
You can really hear it. I mean, it's just driving. It's so powerful.
Oh, it is. But the weird thing about it is, I guess it's one of the quirks of it is the whole tuning side of things of it. You know, you kind of have to have that in check a lot of the time as well. Whenever you, in the back of it, you've got this. It's got this big jack plug thing that goes into the back for this geophonic keyboard that I could have like 2 banks of oscillators going, so I can play 2 notes at a time. But whenever you switch it on, before you even switch it on, you have to hit. There's the third C up on it. Let's just say you have to hit that as a reference point. Hold that down, switch the thing on, so then it has like a reference pitch to go to.
Right.
After you do that, then you have to go to your oscillator bank, tune that as well into, let's just say, middle C or whatever. And then on the keyboard, then you've got like a scale such, so once you hit 1 C, you have to like count up, I think it's like the 5th C on it.
Right.
So once you hit the 5th C, you have to see how far that is out of tune, and then you move the scale in, so then that's on this C. Then as you move down the octaves on each C, you can see how much to stay in tune and how slightly out they are. So that's sort of your process of tuning the thing. And you really want to have it sitting on for a couple of hours as well, so it's nice and warmed up. But I mean, it's all worth it though. The only other way you could do that is you could use like a gate or CV from one of the other, like a Moog matriarch. You could bypass that altogether and just use the CV out and gate from the back of it. And you could do without that. Then you could just tune up the oscillators yourself by hand. Then, but I don't know. I like to have the keyboard working with it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
the guy that I was looking for, sorry, was David Keane.
Right.
So he's one of the guys I think revived Mellotron. So he used to own that in Canada. So that moved its way into London, and then from London to here.
Wow.
It's finishing the last void, so to speak.
It's done more traveling than I have in the last couple of years.
That's it. I've done quite a few miles, that's for sure.
It's a great story, and it's got some history like that though, hasn't it? Like,
I've got a bit of history there as well, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's definitely one of the things about it, I suppose. I was kind of lucky enough because he had like there's a top part of it. I just maybe pick this up. You can see like the top part there. Might be hard to see from there, but that's basically it. Stuff that he put together from a Spanish company called Club of the Knobs. This guy in there mixed the 5U stuff for the modulars as well. But the cool thing about it is that Moog actually built the case as well on the top for him at the factory. So that's a factory case, which is kind of cool. And it has one of the first modules from the 60s as well. It's one of the multiples that has one of the modules from the 60s that Moog put on there for him, which is kind of cool. So has a few little extra bells and whistles there as well, which is kind of cool,
So we also have then, I'm just queuing up the video, we have a Prophet 6.
Yes.
I'm just getting the video now. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, we go. So a Prophet 6, an OB6, and a Moog 1. You're big on Moog.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I've used quite a few synthesizers and they just sound the best, like, without a doubt. I do really like the Dave Smith stuff as well.
Yeah.
Sequential. But I just love that old sound. Because once the Prophet 6 happened, I was like, I have to get one of them because I just really love that old sort of sound. But it kind of was the old sound, but not really. It still sounded fairly new and polished. That sound, but it does sound really, really good. 6 voice, which is decent as well. Unless you kind of go on nuts on chords and stuff, you don't really have the voice stealing, but it sounds really good. But the two of those together, I think, sound really great. On the OB6 and the Sequential Prophet 6, which I used quite a lot on. I was working on the line for output called the 80s. So I did a lot of stuff with those two synths for that line for those guys. But then I recently got the Prophet 10, which is It's a mono synth, but it has that.
We're looking at now. We can see that now. We can see the ARP 2600 Prophet 10, and one I hadn't seen before, a Modal 002.
Oh, the Modal 002. Yeah. Super interesting synthesizer. It's like an digital analog hybrid type of thing. So really, you want to be thinking like I'm not going to really say like a PPG, but that kind of esque PPG types of sounds, FME, bell sounds. Does great 80s bell sounds, which I love. I'm a pure sucker for the 80s music. Does that stuff really, really well. But they don't make those anymore. I was very lucky whenever I was trying to get those. That was whenever the whole pandemic happened, maybe just a little bit before or something. But parts was super hard to get, so they weren't making them anymore because they're a British company, and again they're handmade at their place, or they assemble them. Maybe they're not actually handmade there, but they're all their assembly or whatever. They're a small company. Is really what I'm trying to get at here. And the whole parts and stuff was a huge issue for them, and I think they were moving away to the much smaller Modal synthesizers now, a lot cheaper as well. So I was lucky I found that one at a shop in America, and I was just like, yeah, it was sort of the one to have. They did like the 008 as well, which was an analog synthesizer. That guy, oh god, I forget his name now. He basically brought out the new UDO Super 6 synth, which I have as well. He's another great guy. I forget his name now, but he was involved in that synth, the 008. But it was an analog synthesizer. But the 002 was the one to have. It was the better out of the two, you know. So that one was pretty cool.
I just imagine on a day when Timmy starts working and the electricity in the northwest just goes.
Yeah, I mean, the way I can do it is it just really depends what I'm doing that day. You know, some stuff it's on right away, where we kind of go to. Yeah, Moog 1 would always be on.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what would be your go-to kind of workhorses out of the lot?
Like the Matriarch, man, that's an amazing stuff. I love that thing to death.
Yeah, we've just got one in the uni as well.
Huh?
We just bought one in the uni as well, so I haven't really explored it in any depth yet, but it sounds great.
Man, that is such a cool synth, I have to say. Super cool. That's one of my go-tos. Prophet 10. Definitely the Moog 1, and probably the ARP, but the UDO Super 6. I use that quite a lot on a new project for output as well. That's really, really cool.
So for the viewers, that's the one that's sitting underneath the Modal.
Yeah, the little grey one. Grey one at the bottom there. Yeah, that is a super cool synth. Not in the sense that it's kind of doing a new. Oh, here's another new synth, and you know it's doing X, Y, and Z. But this one's got a really cool, couple cool features on it. It's able to like spread all the voices around. You can pan them in a certain way that makes the sound super wide. And really, it's just really buttery sound that has this sound. Kind of sounds like the Roland stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say the design of it looks a bit Juno, kind of Roland Juno.
Yeah,
style.
Definitely got that. Yeah, it definitely has that sound for sure, but it really comes to life because it has its own wavetables as well. So that's when it really comes into its own, and then you can sort of delay the LFO on the voices, so it sort of moves around all the circles. That's what's it called? Binaural function. So it just really moves things right around. Is sort of the only way I can kind of really explain it, you know. But yeah, super cool sound. So those ones are sort of the ones I would kind of tend to go
Yeah.
to quite a lot at the minute. But it just depends. It really does depend on what I'm doing, like what kind of sample pack I'm doing or whose productions I'm working on at the time. You know.
So let's segue from there over to something I really wanted to touch on is the sort of the multiple facets to your activities. You have these multiple activities, multiple income streams. You mentioned business already, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's an area of, let's say, the creative industries just broadly, that we don't really talk about all that much, and we probably should
Yeah.
do more.
Yeah.
But the term that'll get thrown around a lot is entrepreneur or entrepreneurialism. And the point I always try to remind people of that, at least in the area of music, we've been doing entrepreneurialism since year dot. You know, it's just the nature of the area, but you wouldn't call it that.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
So you're doing lots and lots of things. You mentioned the sound library work, the studio, the production work, lots of stuff.
yeah, definitely. I guess what really got me into the sample side of things was a good few years ago. I got asked to do a sample bank for a company called Sample Magic at the
Yeah.
time. I know they sold the company to Splice and they have all that now. So this sort of all happened before I started the masters and stuff, and I did a pack of, back then like a house thing, and it did really well for them, which was kind of cool, and then I just kind of fell away from it with that, but then I got back in touch again because I did I did a sample pack for Sonic Academy, and then it started kind of start growing back into that. I was kind of like, I kind of like doing this type of stuff, you know.
So by a sample pack is what exactly?
So yeah, a sample pack in a nutshell is basically me composing snippets of hooks, pad sounds, chorded sounds, drum loops, anything that say the young aspiring producer can
Yeah,
open his
yeah,
DAW and just throw stuff on the timeline, and it's like it basically sounds like it's been taken out of a
yeah,
track
yeah.
and into the DAW. So that's kind of what I do is just engineer properly polished, composed sounds. People can just drag and drop into their own projects and stuff, and maybe how would you say, give them maybe aspire them to kind of finish off the production in
Yeah,
some sort of way.
yeah.
Just really take the sort of that side of things out of it for them, so that we have to get
Sure.
into too much detail. They can do, obviously they're learning about production, but then they can get something that can give them like a benchmark that they need to get their production up to as well at the same time, you know.
Yeah, and I guess they can get like authentic instruments as well, right? I mean, you can get a
Well, that
sequential and you can get a Moog, and because sometimes
exactly.
that's just not affordable.
Yeah, exactly. That was sort of the main thing for me whenever I was chatting to my buddy John at Splice, saying the main thing that I was wanting to do is that be able to create these sounds with these instruments that are expensive, that not
Mm.
every young person, it's taken me 20 years to kind of get this far where I can have this stuff. So I've been working towards this for a long time and collecting equipment and trying to get it together. Now it's only really come together this past few years. So yeah, but that's exactly what I want to do is compose stuff with these instruments, and then
Brilliant.
so people can have the sound of these instruments in their projects.
So how does that work financially then? Do you get a fee for producing it and then you get a royalty? Is it something like that?
No, the way I'd always work it is that I would have like a buyout fee.
Right.
You can do things in that way too. You can work off royalties and stuff. But I just kind of tend to do a job, get
Right.
paid for it. move on to the next
Right.
job, or I'll have a certain
Yeah.
amount of jobs set out what I'm going to do. Either that's going to be a year in advance, where I'll have like a year planned out, or I'll have like 6 months planned out, or whatever. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
been lucky enough that I've been able to do that.
And how long
this
would that
past
take you to put together?
Well, you see, that's another good question, because to be creative every single day of the week is something of a challenge itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we all love music, down to the person that doesn't know why they love music, but they just love music. But whenever you know yourself, once you start getting into music and you don't really listen to a song as such, but you
No.
more or less dissect the song as you listen to it. That's
Yeah.
just the way the brain goes at a point. It can be hard to be creative every day, so that for me has been a skill that I've had to sort of learn as I go along, to be able to go on every day, but still keep doing the job, to be creative. And anything at the end of the day, whenever you're sort of adding it into the library as such, when you're QCing it, it has to set up to be on par of the day where everything was happening and you're loving it, getting around everything and really vibing off all the sounds that you're making. So having different days to do stuff, I always found to be very beneficial.
Oh.
So
you have a production schedule across the week, where maybe
yeah,
Wednesday
exactly.
is in the studio.
Well, every day's in the studio,
Right.
but it could be different. It'll be different jobs
Different activities.
and
Yeah.
different activities. Exactly. So it could be there'll be a couple of days I'll be working with Chris and the guys at Sonic, and we could be doing some presets for Anna, or we could be making stuff to make other sample packs, or jobs sort of vary, or maybe making productions, backing tracks for the videos that some of the artists they have on there. That's just some of the songs that play in the background. Could be stuff like that, and then other days then I'll kind of move on to where I'll be working on sample packs then on the latter part of the week, because I always find that's where I'm sort of the most creative, on the latter part of the week. But if it has to be done on a Monday or whatever, that's fine too. But it really does depend. If it's a hard genre that I haven't really worked on before, I would leave that stuff to sort of the latter part of the week, because the start of the week could be me going through playlists that was sent to me that we really want stuff on this type of vibe. Like it could be like, say, some of the last stuff they were saying they want the sort of sexy R&B as such, like,
Yeah.
where we need stuff in that sort of mood and feel and stuff. So then I would go, okay, right, so now I need to go off and go through a playlist and see how these sounds are made, and think about the chords and stuff, and how just basically how these things are put together to nail that sound for them. They can kind of go, yeah, loving it. Now do me another 200 loops or something like that, in the style.
Right.
Cool.
And then probably then on a Saturday, and I just leave that then for working on actual productions for other people, maybe like pop music or dance music or whatever. So I
was just going to say then, well, with what you have, it'd be very easy to become a 7-day-a-week thing. But clearly, at least from a creative standpoint, that's not always going to work.
Yeah, definitely. But I kind of found that from the first business that I had with my partner at the time, Tommy, is that, God, we would be in there all day, and like you might get out of there at about 11 at night, like, and that's from the morning all day. And I found that out really sort of early, as such as that you need to have a cutoff point, because at the end of the day, it's a marathon here. It's not like a quarter mile race or
sprint,
whatever. So
Yep.
you really need to have all your stuff in place for yourself, your own sort of routine. So I always try and have a routine where, you know, once 5 o'clock comes, that's it. I'm out. Tomorrow's a new day. Just sort of get out of here. You know, go. I always go to the gym, like I just go to a few different classes because I find that stuff really good for the head, and
Yeah.
you know, that sort of keeps me grand because the way my sort of head works is that I'll be just like thinking all the time about stuff, especially concerning music, anyways. So I tend to find whenever I do that, that helps me wind down and helps me reset so that I can just like forget about the music till tomorrow is a new day type of
Yeah.
thing again. Like, so that I always find that super important. Like don't get me wrong, eat, sleeping and breathing it is great too at a time. Like everybody's done that and you still do it to an extent. Like but you do need to have your cut off point and have
Absolutely.
other things in your life because that's going to keep things fresh for you then as well.
Yeah.
You know, instead
And
of being
it is a
frustrated.
whole body thing. I took me a long time to learn that when I was younger. We used to do sessions right through the night. Like we wouldn't sleep, and then
Oh yeah,
go into jobs the next day. And you could do it when you're
yeah,
younger. Well, I think so.
absolutely.
But at a certain point, if you're looking for quality work, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a whole body thing. You got to look after all parts.
absolutely. Like yeah, I found it's kind of you feel like you need to do all that stuff. If you're not doing that stuff, then you're not going anywhere. You're not moving forward, and you know things isn't happening properly for you. But then you're basically burning the candle
Yeah,
at
there it
both
is.
ends.
There it is.
You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing everybody needs to learn themselves.
yeah.
As such, like no, not for
Pacing, right?
sure. Exactly. That's it. Like it's just having being able to get up the next day and having the energy to kind of attack the day and sort of get your work done at the same time. I feel like some people can have this sort of romantic view of studio work and oh, it's great and it's so glamorous and all this kind of crack, but it's, you know,
It's
I wouldn't
hard.
say it's glamorous. It's hard to kind of get there
Yeah.
to where you want it, and then sort of keep doing it.
Mm. Mm. So what's on the future? I'm conscious now that we're using up a lot of your valuable time. What's on the future for Timmy?
Well, future stuff at the minute again is still doing what I'm doing. I've ton of work for Spice need to do next year. I'll have more work for Output and their synthesizer, Arcade, and obviously the guys at Sonic Academy, tons of stuff for them as well, and then just trying to make some new stuff happen, which is always on an ongoing basis. You know, you're just but again, I always find it's like once you're doing something for somebody else, another door opens. You know, it's all about putting yourself out there. I kind of
It
feel.
is. It is.
And then doors to start opening. Like I mean, there is no perfect storm where you're going to sit there and
No.
something's going to land in your lap. You need to go out there and get something, and then do a good job, and that leads to another good job. And
Exactly.
you build up good people. You know, I would probably say that's probably one of the most important things is to surround yourself with as many good people as possible.
100%. I think we should emphasize that it's almost like compound interest. You know, you do one job and that sort of starts gaining interest, and then you ripple out into another. Your network just constantly grows, the community of people that you're working with, and that by itself just attracts more interesting work.
Absolutely, like you know, whenever you do get that first job that's in a really good company that you kind of like and respect, and the people working there are good people. And I'm just going to emphasize that as well, good people, because unfortunately, I know it's in every business, but unfortunately in the music business, there tends to be more unsavory people, we shall say, than good, which is unfortunate. So, you know, my advice would be to, you know, stay clear as many of those types of people as possible and do good work, keep your head down, and you know, but the M side, do good work, and you know, other things will happen. Don't be looking for the shortcut, so to speak. You know, just you have to put the work in, and to say, other things will just start coming. You know, that's just life in general.
Yep.
You know, once you put yourself out there, other things are going to happen.
And it's true for all domains. I think that's what you just said, but this isn't just solely a creative industries or even a music thing. So is there anything that you'd like to say in terms, well, any advice that you'd offer to, let's say, someone who's young and is looking to get a start in music, sound design?
Yeah, like with sound design, I always thought, whenever I was doing it, maybe I had my blinkers on at the time, or I was just young or whatever, but you know, I was like, I have to be the producer, I just have to be this producer, blah, blah, but you know, there's so many other areas that's easier to get into. Like I've got a buddy that does, he does touring, setting up big bands all over the world. He's got his own company and has his own guys that works on. Goes on, he's been off on a Rolling Stones tour. He's done them all, you know. So that's just easier places to get into. Not necessarily you might have the talent to kind of be this amazing producer and write these #1 singles, which everybody starts out and I want to be the #1 guy making pop music or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that there's a level for everybody. If you want to work in the music business, you certainly can. It's just all about going after, you know, aim high or whatever, like what everybody does, and then wherever you land in between that, you give it your shot, but you will land where you want to land at the same time. You know, you'll get where you want to be. You just put on the work, really.
Yeah, you have to trust that, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Because with the music business, you probably do want to kind of get into it a little bit younger anyway, and sort of see. You don't want to be a late bloomer because you're going to be broke for a long time. You know, if you're thinking about house, I would like to have a house or whatever, a car and stuff. You know, all those things sort of take money. It just depends. So like starting into it kind of younger, but I definitely found now being in isolation and stuff as well, because of the past couple of years with the pandemic as well, it has definitely created a surge in people obviously working from home, but within the sample realm as well. You know, there's been a lot of people, especially DJs and stuff, you know, making courses or having more of an online presence as such. Like, you know, it's just a lot easier for people now to be able to make money in that sort of way, which is a great thing.
The education side of things is going to change massively in everything. I mean, you're going to have, just with the ease of access in terms of tools and just producing even just things like this, and just imparting what little bits of skills and experience that you have, and just lots and lots of that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I agree with. There's so much information out there online, such as YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But there is also a lot of stuff that's wrong as well. And like, I'm a huge There's nothing like being in the classroom with somebody that is teaching you actually how to do something properly. You know, what you can ask questions and you have them there in front of you. Like for sure it is changing. Maybe college and stuff need to have more of a online presence, or students can, you know, learn from, you know, the house as such and that. But you know what I mean? Like, nothing will ever beat being in the actual classroom with someone that has experience within the industry, where you can kind of go and pick their brain. You know, it's up to the student. You can do whatever you can for the student, but it's up for them to sort of come and talk to you and pick your brain and see it, because this is stuff you probably take for granted. You never even really think about, and it could be a piece of gold to a student. That they're like, oh, man, you know what I mean. So I think in that sense, definitely education #1 for sure. It's really helped shape my thinking and my learning as I've been through the years as well by going to college, especially going on doing the masters as well, but also teaching people. That's whenever you really
tested,
sit
didn't it?
down. Yeah, that's how you're tested. You're like,
Yeah.
well, you know, oh, man, I actually know this. You better know it.
Yeah.
You know, in
Yeah.
a sense, like, so for me, like, education is not number one for sure. And you know, if somebody can take you under the wing that has experience in the industry, that has done a lot as well, that's also gold. You know, because they can cut a lot of corners for you.
Yeah.
As such, like, instead of, you know, taking everything from the book. So I kind of think like a mix of both.
Yeah.
For sure, but definitely leaning more to the education side of things. You know, people want to kind of move on and stay in music for as long as possible. Because I always find myself I had to keep on reinventing different things or thinking of other ways to stay relevant and go back to the drawing board again. And you know, I'm hoping this time where I'm at now is where I'm going to be at.
Well, I think we're just on an hour and a half. We've touched on loads.
I kind of flew.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, John or Timmy? Is there anything you want to touch on?
I've no particular questions at the moment, Greg. I think you know, the points you're raising there are really, really interesting. Like particularly around the challenges of working for yourself and scheduling, and you know, I can't imagine personally having to kind of work under that particular pressure, even though I'm in the same industry, of, you know, having to match my productions to a particular style on a given day of a given week. You know, that must be quite a difficult thing to continually do. But it sounds like you're loving it, and
yeah, no, definitely. But you know what? I'm actually that's kind of funny you said that, because I've actually thought about this a few days ago as well, which is kind of funny because whenever I was learning production as such, yeah, I was always mad about the dance music and stuff, and that was grand. But with the mentor at the time, Les, he always exposed you to doing like pop and loads of all these other genres and stuff, you know. So I was probably fairly lucky in a way that he sort of started putting that in your head to sort of plant that seed, you know. But what I did find, it took me a lot longer to get to where I'm at now, because I never really stuck to one sort of genre. Now, if you stick to one sort of genre, then you'll learn it, you know, quick enough, and you'll become a master of that genre a lot sooner than you will of loads of different kinds of genres, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you don't have the same flexibility either, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know, so I enjoy the challenge of it. You know, especially if somebody's coming with a genre that I've never really kind of looked at before. You know, somebody's looking for I don't know if you ever heard of this guy called Flying Lotus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, his genre is this real
all over the place.
Time all over the place, groove, it's in the pocket.
I like the early stuff. The later stuff, not so much. It's got very, just a bit too wild for me.
Yeah, some of it was a bit wild, all right, but it was just like, as an example, it's just like, can you do this stuff? And it was kind of like, okay, let me get a look at it. But of course, you're going, yep, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, but then just sort of going.
It's basically electronic jazz, right? I think that's the best description I have for it.
Yeah. It's just this stuff. It's, you know, that's a good point actually. Electronic jazz in a way that just like, think about John Bottom, the drummer. He might be all over the shop for a minute, but he'll always land in on the one.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, just stuff, lots of offbeat time and stuff that just sort of sits in the pocket.
So what's your process then? Just listen to it loads and loads and loads and try and emulate ideas?
Yeah, it's just really sit down and just think about it from the ground up. Like, one of the cool ways is kind of thought you could, like, bring in tracks into Ableton and then just really use different filters in to sort of listen to the low end.
Ah, right, yeah, good idea.
What's going on. You know, just cover listen to the drums, what's happening down there, and then, you know, even at that within Ableton, you know, you can kind of put on your work markers.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of break it down, like how many sounds on there, where they are in the timelines. You can see how far they're at. You know, is there so much swing on them? Is there just on the grid? You know, that's what kind of way they move about. So you can really, that's just the thing I love about Ableton. You can really dissect audio in there. For me, it's probably the best. You know, it mightn't sound the best, but it's the best creative tool and just the best tool, I could really say. There's a lot of things it can do. So I tend to find whenever I'm starting to break down the genre of stuff that I've never really done before, I'll just like, right, well, what's the best track? Or what's the track that's got a few million plays or something like that? Go get that track, see if you can get like a dub mix off it or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you start dissecting it and kind of go from there, you know. That's the way I would kind of look at that.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's almost as if, you know, we were talking about the multiple strands to your efforts, but then within music itself, there's multiple strands in terms of genres, and they reach different audiences, they have different markets, they have different appeal, they're different, even applications. Some suitable for TV, radio, film, and some commercial music release.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all those different avenues, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of, there's like even trailer music and stuff. That seems to be, I've been looking at that area. That seems to be kind of good enough area people can kind of get into easily enough. The only real experience I've kind of had on that type of thing was with a company in the States. They're called X-Ray Dog, X-Ray-Dog. They're part of BMG now. They took over. They did like a lot of scores for Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of did like 5 tracks for them a while. A few years ago, good few years ago now at this stage. About 6 or 7 years ago, maybe something like that. And around about, so I did like 5 tracks for them. And then so like they have like offices all over the world. So then they'd be like pitching your music and stuff, and you'd be making passive income, watching it from your music. So that's one of the things I've been kind of getting into. It's been like a little bit of a slow burner because you do need quite a lot of music out there, and then obviously you work with some people that things just doesn't work out the way you would have thought it would. Like, and you might hand over 10 tracks, you know, so it's quite a bit of work. And not really see anything back from that for, you know, quite a while. With some of the bigger companies, you know, you need to kind of give it a year. So from you making these tracks, then it's going to take about a year before you actually start to see any royalties come back in.
Yeah, because particularly in a movie, the release cycle is really long, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
really
it.
long.
But the good thing is you get more for TV, obviously, and stuff. But then, you know, there's so many other streams, like radio and that's involved like that. Like, so that's pretty cool. Like, and then if you're signed up to Enrolling as well, so any music that you're doing there, you can sort of get a little bit of passive income there. But the good thing about like the bigger guys like BMG, like you'll have your own sort of part of their royalty site and such, and then they can kind of tell you what kind of royalties you have coming in the future, or put your music forward for like a movie trailer or such, and once stuff kind of happens like that, then you're into a lot of money, but you kind of need to sort of hit a point where you've made, you know, a nice few quid to kind of really entice you into, well, here, maybe I'll start working in this area a lot more. So for me, that kind of area, I've just been dabbling in and doing a few bits and pieces, you know. Say I've done a good few tracks in that area, but the BMG thing's been decent. I've done a thing for Sony, which is kind of cool. And I've been thinking about doing another batch of tracks and maybe go back there again and just But the way I look at that stuff, I do that on kind of downtime where I'm not interfering with the business as such.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of like, the weekends, maybe a Saturday if I'm doing productions, and maybe I'll do some of that kind of stuff today just to sort of start building it up. But it's more of a slow burner where I might do a track in a day and then I'll just pop that in the folder.
But an interesting creative detour as well, right?
It is like
completely different.
It is because you never know. You could do something and then some company could just land it, and then Wendy's in America could take over one of your songs to be putting ads in all 50 odd states, like,
Nice.
and then you're into some serious royalties.
Yeah.
We can think about retirement. It's definitely a cool area to get into if you can get going in it really well. But then within that, then you're kind of a little bit of a needle in the haystack. But again, it's down to the people that you're kind of working with, and how much they like your music, or kind of relationship you have with them as well. Which all these factors come into play. Like, but I was lucky enough with those guys at X-Ray Dog. Now they were very good. Made a little bit of money with them. But that's something I might try again. And I'm going to try it again, but I've just been kind of doing little things on the long finger with that. But just where I have things, the studio wise, I have that where I kind of want it now at the moment. So this is just kind of other stuff I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
For the future. So I'm going to see what happens with that. Not really going to think too much about it now, but we'll just kind of tear away at it and say throw some stuff at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
All right, Timmy. Listen, that's been a fantastic conversation.
I really enjoyed
and
that.
Really interesting. Just all the activities. Thanks for your time, and thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you all later.
Nice one. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.